Hey, what's up, Rainmakers? Hope you guys are doing super amazing. So in this module, I'm basically going to be covering the objectives of direct messaging systems or the objectives of chat, right? And the most important thing to remember here is that we're having conversations with people. That is where our conversion happens, right? So we're getting new followers, we're posting content, we're driving leads, and we're generating conversations, right? We're here to make money, right? Just to be upfront. And so there needs to be a specific outcome that is a result of what we're doing with these conversations, right? So you're either going to choose one lane, which is appointment setting, or you're going to choose chat closing, which is another setting, right? Or another option. And so in this training, I'm just going to cover a little bit of the nuances of both and kind of how to make that decision, right? Because if you're watching this right now, you're going to be implementing chat and you're trying to basically decide, okay, am I going to be booking appointments for myself? Or am I going to try to chat close? And there's two ways to kind of do this for yourself, right? So anyway, so we're going to go right into it. So choosing your path. So first off, we have appointment setting, right? And so if your product is greater than $3,000, so if your coaching service or whatever the thing yours is offering is greater than $3,000, you're going to need to close on the phone, or in this case, Zoom, right? And I don't actually mention, I don't actually want you to close on the phone. I'm going to say Zoom. So I'm actually going to change this on the document right now. But anyway, and the reason we want to close on Zoom is because you have that face-to-face touch, right? You're able to look directly in the camera. You're able to like see this person. You're able to basically build that trust with them. But then also you can like see their facial reactions and that kind of stuff. So it's really important. That being said, usually when people are buying something over $3,000, it's just better to do it on a phone call. They just need more trust, right? It's a relatively large amount of money. That's basically what I'm saying right here. It is possible to sell this via chat, but you need like very high credibility, good authority, and good results. And so I'm going to cover what some of those things are later in later modules. But usually I recommend appointment setting process for just about everyone, especially if you're like under the 20K follower mark, or you're kind of more on like, you're just getting your social kind of pumping now. If you're under the 20K mark, I definitely recommend booking appointments, right? For chat closing, if your product is less than 3K, then you realistically don't need a phone call nowadays. You can pretty much leverage chat closing to grow. The reason is just like, it's like there's like a certain threshold. It's kind of hidden, but there's like a certain threshold of money that people will pay without actually talking to someone, right? And so usually the higher ticket that is, the more they need to speak to someone to feel confident about their decision. But then the lower that is, then it tends to be more of like an impulse buy, right? And so we've sold products and services up to about $3,000 in chat, relatively easy, I would say. But once you get past that, it gets a little more murky and tough, right? And then usually for people, I recommend chat closing for people who have like a decent following, like 20K more followers on Instagram or any of your big platforms. But the biggest focus that I would recommend for people in chat closing is ascension, right? And we can talk more about that in different modules, but that's kind of the idea here, just to think of like how I would make the decision. So whether you're appointment setting or chat closing, that's kind of where you need to make that call, right? So let's say that you go appointment setting, right? What are like the components of an effective appointment setting strategy? So you basically need to have really good conversational engagement, right? You need to be able to say stuff that gets replies. You need to be able to qualify like a beast, right? And so what I mean by qualify as a beast, you need to dial in what exactly that you need to know in order to know if this person can actually invest in your product and service. You need to know like their details, like their income, their occupation. You need to know like that to a T, right? So that way, whenever you're in the chat or whenever you have your person or appointment setter that's talking to this person, they're going to be able to qualify them and make sure they're a good fit for your service, right? You need some effective appointment scheduling skills, which we're going to break down some scripts and things that have worked for me, and you'll be able to build a script for yourself. Also, we're going to leverage some tools like MiniChat and stuff like that for automation, which is going to be dope. Those will come in later modules as well, but that'll help speed up the appointment setting process for you. And then also whenever you hire someone, that will be an effective way for them to get very speedy in there as well. Cool. Next piece is relationship building, right? So like one thing that's really important about these funnels is that, or these conversation funnels, I should say, is that we're building a relationship with people, right? And so there's this thing in direct response where we basically call it like buy or die, right? And so people will come in and we'll have a conversation with them. If they don't buy today, then we're done with them, right? Well, because we're doing a lot of our stuff through social media, these are people that you actually like know that you can see their face, right? You can check their pictures, all that kind of stuff. So we want to focus on relationship building and leaving the conversation on a good note, even if they don't book an appointment, even if they don't whatever, right? And we're going to cover some of these things later in different modules. The last thing is in appointment setting, we're selling a call, right? So we're not selling the program. We're not selling the program yet, right? And a lot of people make this mistake whenever they're doing appointment setting is they feel like they need to sell the person on every piece of it. And it's no, like we're selling that we can solve their problem, and we're selling the call, right? So seeing how fast we can get them on there. So if you guys read through this document, I kind of broke it down into more minutes, but this is more kind of like a high level, right? So this is for option one if you go appointment setting, and then if you go option two, chat closing, right? And so just for context, for chat closing, this is where my specialty comes in, 100%. Because I was doing this for Jason Capital, and we had a team around 32 people. We did around 4 million in sales just directly through DM. So I've got this part nailed down really, really tight. And then for appointment setting, I actually ran another agency with Jason Capital earlier this year, and we built that agency to around $300,000 a month, running a done-for-you appointment setting service. So I'm very, very keen and I'm very dialed in on both of these sides, but chat closing is like my baby. Anyway, so I say that to say that we're going to hop right in. So if you were to pick chat closing, awesome. I'm excited because this is what I believe is like one of the best ways to make sales, because there's just a lot that you can do with it, right? So anyway, so if you pick number two in your chat closing, that means you probably have greater than 20K followers, right? Or maybe if you're a little over 10K, it's debatable, right? I just say 20K because that's what I've seen for sure to work really well. And then you have a product or service that's probably around $1,000, maybe 1,500, or maybe 2K, right? Perfect. So we can create a VSL, which is called the Pocket VSL, and that's something that we're going to cover in deeper modules as well. We're going to cover a chat script and a chat closing process and a Pocket VSL, which is what we'll use as the conversion mechanism for that funnel. So super excited to kind of break some of that stuff down for you later. So make sure you check down below and once you pick your path, right? And then we'll get that dialed in. Anyway, perfect. So what I like about chat closing is really it's the ability to make sales without getting on phone calls, which I think is a very powerful thing. So for example, even if you've made less sales, right, overall than you would have on the phone, like booking phone calls and appointments, because you have a team and you have a process that runs without a sales call. So that means that people can talk with thousands of people potentially at a time. I think that's the biggest advantage that chat has over appointment setting, right? It's the volume of conversations that you can manage at scale. So anyway, so super excited for you if you have that. What we're going to cover in the chat closing strategies is basically another thing. I say compelling communication here, but it's basically we're going to have to convince people and come out do objection overcoming. So similar stuff that what you do on a sales call, but you're going to do that in chat, right? And I have a lot of cool processes for this that's going to help out. So you're going to have to be pretty persuasive in the chat, right? We're going to have scripts, and I'm going to show you some of the ones that I have come up with and the things that we use in our chats. And that'll give you some ideas for what you can build for your teams. I mentioned overcome objecting right there, so that's part of it. Strategic offer presentation. So I mentioned the Pocket VSL, which is basically a very short video, around 7 to 10 minutes. Ideally, we've had some that have been like 17 and 20 minutes, but I like the short video better. I think it works really good, and we're going to show you how to do that, right? And then closing with confidence, meaning that we're going to show you some processes by which we actually overcome objections and close people in the chat, and you can utilize those tactics for yourself, right? As you're going to dive into that section, super excited because you're going to learn, everything I know about DM selling, and that is like one of my favorite topics to talk about. So cool. Excited to dive into some of that stuff more. Now, as a final note, I have at the bottom of this document, I just wanted to give you like the 7 values that I see are the most important in terms of like your guiding principles in chat closing, right? And so here's the 7 values of chat closing. Number 1 is thou shalt always qualify. And what that means in this case is like, we want to make sure that the people we talk to in the chat are qualified, right? Meaning that they can afford our services, right? They actually have a reason to get what we have to offer. They have ability to pay the fee, right? And then they're responsive and friendly. So so that's value number one. That should always qualify. Now, value number two, the set is the close, right? And so I'm going to cover the set. I'm going to cover like the different phases of conversations and stuff like that in another module. But this is an incredible thing because basically this applies to appointment setting and chat closing, right? The set being the conversation that someone has before they see a sales presentation is the most important thing that could pretty much that process breaks down everything, right? So if there's a bad conversation before or expectations are not correct, by the time they make it on the sales presentation, to see a sales presentation or to end up on the call with you on a sales call, then that sale is not going to happen, right? So like getting that process very dialed in is super important, whether that be appointment setting or chat closing, right? Next one is pain is the pitch, right? And so a lot of people, whenever they're doing discovery in chat or even on the phone calls, right, is they don't go deep enough with people, right? So what I mean by they don't go deep enough is like let's say that I'm selling an offer about making more money. Great. Okay, well, the problem is that I'm not making more money if I'm talking to the prospect, right? Their problem is I'm not making enough money. Now, the pain of that though is different. It's like I'm not making enough money, so my wife is gonna leave me. I'm not making enough money because my girlfriend hates me for it, right? I'm not making enough money and I can't travel and do the things I want. I'm not making money, so I can't afford my bills. So that is the pain, right? And so pain is the pitch. And so whenever we're talking to someone and we're working on closing them, right, we need to make sure that we identify the pain because that pain is going to be something that we can leverage later in the conversation, actually move that thing forward, right? Value number four, fortune is in the follow-up, right? And so there's this thing called the inciting incident. This is a copywriting principle. The inciting incident is basically an incident that happens that causes someone to be motivated to actually like take action and do something, right? So an example of this would be would be basically like let's say that you were in college, right? Let's say that you're in college, and then let's say that you get in trouble in college, right? And you end up getting kicked out, and so now you lose your ability to continue your formal education, right? So then now, okay, I don't have my formal education. That's the inciting incident. So what's going to happen to someone whenever something like that happens, right? Maybe they start working all kinds of jobs. Maybe they start getting depressed. Maybe they start looking up like how to make money different ways, right? And so then they end up on a phone call with you talking about how to make more money. So there's usually some kind of inciting incident, and we don't know what that is, right? And so that can be a reason that someone comes into the chat. But then another reason that we want to follow up, which is why we said fortune is in the follow up, is that we don't know when this inciting incident is happening, right? And we can't rely on them to tell us when it's happening. So that's why we follow up, because we might hit the right timing where they might actually be ready for our products and services, right? So value number five, and we'll go into that. Data doesn't lie, right? So we should be making all of our decisions on data, everything on data. And the reason that we want to do that is because that way we're not swayed by our emotions, and we're making very calculated decisions on what drives more leads, what produces better results, and things like that, right? And so we're going to be very data focused on this, and you're going to see that in future modules. I'm going to talk about like data in as far as like even like the social media metrics for marketing whenever we're driving leads. So anyway, data doesn't lie, big principle. Value number six, there's cash and curiosity. So become a questions master. Usually what I found is that when people don't give you the answer that they want or that you want, then it's really about you not asking the right questions, right? And so instead of us having to sell someone something, usually if we ask the right questions, we can have them come to the right conclusion themselves, right? So that is value number six. And then value number seven is new identity, new income, right? And so the income that you have, and this ties to all the products you sell, right? Like the new, like the thing that you want, right? So let's say you want to fix your relationship. Let's say that you want to get your fitness right. Let's say that you want to get better in your business. Let's say that whatever that is, that new identity, right? Like your income is tied to that new identity as well. So no matter no matter what outcome someone is looking for or looking to get, right? their income will also increase as a result of becoming that new identity. So, anyway, the concept I'm trying to explain here is that all the people that we're talking to in these conversations need, and they have to get a new identity so that way they can get the outcome they're looking for. So, that's super important. So whenever we're talking to people, we can speak to that identity, and we can actually use that as a leverage point in those chats, right? So anyway, cool. So that's going to be the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.